Daniel and I both predicted a 3-point game between Texas and Georgia yesterday. Daniel said Bulldogs going to win. I say this coin flip. We're going to give you more insight to what we're excited, nervous, and what not to sleep on because this game is chock full of storylines. Next, Locked On Bulldogs.
You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Locked On Bulldogs podcast. He, of course, is Clint. I am Daniel. This is the Locked On Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Our friends over at FanDuel.com make every moment more and more on FanDuel in a moment. Thank you so much for being here on this Friday. Thanks for making this your first listen on this Friday. Thanks for being an everydayer every single day here with us on the podcast. Shout out to all of you. You are the ones that make this show go. You are the reason that we've been at this for all these years. Was just chatting in Athens, Clint, with some other folks from some other Georgia podcasts. A lot of great shows out there and a lot of great people hosting a lot of great shows. But we appreciate you and your support of this show. We are for fans, by fans. We don't pretend to be anything else. We're Georgia fans, and we talk like fans, which means, Clint, never more appropriate to remind people of that on a Friday, because it means that you and I are, at this very moment, giddy excited about tomorrow, because it means another Saturday of college football, but most importantly, it means a big game for the Georgia Bulldogs.
Yes,
we
sir.
get to watch. We are beyond nervous about this game, like hugging the toilet, bucket in hand, nervous about this game. And it means that as fans, we have probably thought about this game more than is healthy for a person to think about another thing.
There are some things when you go to the therapist and they say all things are safe here. There are some things that aren't.
Here we are on the couch.
The
again.
amount of time,
it's the off season. All of a sudden.
that we have spent thinking about this isn't safe to tell to anybody. That's not a safe thing.
No, it's not. So we maybe have thought of some things that you haven't thought of, some things that maybe you shouldn't sleep on. That's what we'll get to in the third segment. But let's start out in segment one, Clint, and I'll open things up and just say that when it comes to excitement in this game, I will begin here. I am excited because I do not have success fatigue, because I am a real fan.
Thank you.
And so I am excited that my team is at the epicenter of all of college football on Saturday. My team is the team that every single casual in America is going to tune in and watch. Kirby even said, did you hear the Kirbyese this week, Clint?
Oh, I heard. Kirbyese was in, by the way, full force this week.
He said, great for TV. He didn't mean good for ESPN.
No.
Kirby doesn't give two rips about Kirk Herbstreit or ESPN or any of that nonsense.
No.
He doesn't care about how much money Disney's making off this game. Kirby cares about all them eyeballs on the University of Georgia, Clint, because some of them eyeballs belong to young men who are one day going to don the red and black and play in Athens in games like this. And so I am excited about another opportunity as a fan. This is why wouldn't you want this game? Why wouldn't you want this game on the schedule? It's a playoff type atmosphere. Now, if Georgia loses this game, we are going to be literally on a razor's edge the rest of the season, right? Like, this is it for us.
We can't lose.
But we don't have to win this game to make the college football playoff. And so it's only upside. There's very little downside. And it's the biggest marquee game of the weekend. And it's your team. Your team is the one that everybody's talking about. So why in the world would I not be excited about that?
Daniel, I've gone back and I've rewatched the Mississippi State game a little bit more.
Okay,
because
then.
I was curious about some
Man's
things.
a glutton for it.
I am a glutton. I thought I remember, my mind's eye told me that there were some things happening. I went back and looked because you were there and you were giving me some intel about the sideline stuff that I was very intrigued by, very excited by.
We
So
still haven't followed up on that. I'll hold it. We'll hold it for later.
Okay, great. We got a little nugget for you.
Listen, freshman linebackers. At some point, I'm going to talk about freshman linebackers, Clint. I have thoughts.
I have to contain myself.
And by the way, you can talk to me about Kirby bumping into some kid on the sideline. Kirby does more coaching on that sideline, Clint, than anyone does working at their job at any point.
Great parlay into this, Daniel, because I saw Saturday Kirby and I heard Kirby this week. Pressers and Saturday, there was a tone shift from what was every previous week. Okay. Kirby made no bones about it. Normally, he's very, very political in his about playing time, about guys. He'll say, hey, they're working their tails off. Practice is our biggest reps. We care about that. What happens in the team is the most yada, yada, yada. But when asked about a couple of guys, he just pointedly said, we need to get them on the field. I'm sorry. I've screwed up so far. We need to just find better ways to get them on the field. That's what has been said about a guy like Brock Bowers when he came in and they all said,
you heard it.
We need to find a way to get him on the field.
People were asking questions about Eric Gilbert, and Mike Bobo said, let me talk about a different tight end in the room, if I could. So he is giving us an insight. There's Kirby's in that, but he has given us insight. I've heard players' names mentioned where that excites us. I've heard wide receiver rotation talked about. I've heard offensive line. I've heard DBs. I've seen KJ Bolden have his highest graded game all year. I've seen Dan Jackson put together a total game for the first time all year. He's the most sure tackler. He's the most heady of them. And now he's running around like his hair's on fire. I've seen the defensive line wreak havoc. I've yet to see the cornerbacks do anything, but they can bounce back. And Ellis Robinson. Daniel, I'm excited because this is a shift in Kirby's coaching. He's been very nice guy up until this point. Saturday, ain't a single nice guy was to be found on that sideline. He was bull in a china shop with people because he knew this ain't going to cut it for the rest of the year. This ain't going to cut it against Texas. And that carried over to this week in practice. And that carried over to him. His loyalty to guys, I don't think is there anymore. He about to cut somebody if need be. I'm excited because this is truly, I don't know if in Austin, like I said, it's a coin flip for me. I do think it's 3-point either way. I do anticipate Georgia having a 50-50 shot, but I'll tell you what, whatever the outcome of this game, it's going to be a complete game from us. We're going to play 4 quarters in this game, Daniel. I can tell you that much right now. And the tone, I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see what this team is, because if we go toe-to-toe with Texas and we're at a 3-point game in the 4th in Austin in the middle of the season with a bunch of guys down, I have all the confidence of the world leading out of that game. Everything's still in front of us. I'm excited for 4 quarters of a game. We're going to talk more about what we're nervous about. And by the way, there's plenty, but first, these. And these are, in fact, hymns. Hey, guess what? Your sex life is important, but your schedule is busy. You don't have time to go to the doctor's office to get treated for ED. Through hymns, you can get personalized ED treatment without stepping foot outside your door. Just answer a series of questions on the site, and a medical provider will determine the right treatment option. If prescribed, your medication ships directly to you in discreet packaging for free. With hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, Hims can help you find the ED option that works for you. Start your free trial today at hims.com/lockedon. That's HIMS.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/lockedon. This product mentioned are chewable compound products which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. All right, Clint. Daniel, that's what we're excited about.
Yes, sir.
There's plenty to be excited about this week in this game, but there's also plenty to be nervous about. But only if, I should put the caveat on it, only if you've watched any Georgia football this year.
Yeah.
Would you be nervous about things in this game?
Correct.
So maybe you're coming in stone cold. Maybe you just woke up out of a coma.
Sure.
You haven't had time to tune in. You've been traveling for work somewhere that doesn't have the internet. And so you're blissfully unawares of how the season has gone. What do you find yourself most nervous about as we look ahead to Saturday night in Austin?
Well, there's painfully obvious ones. I'm nervous the DBs don't know their man coverage assignments. I'm nervous at the motion in Steve Sarkisian's offense. But honestly, while I'm nervous about that, I'm not mitigating. I'm not saying I'm not nervous about that, because Steve Sarkisian is a great offensive coach. And DBs have shown thus far this year not to be the DBs of previous years and previous recruits so far. So while I'm nervous, but I trust Kirby coaching these guys up. It's why Tennessee is not that big of a threat every single year that we play them. Even when we're down by double digits in the first, Kirby knows the system. I think Kirby studied Texas and knows their system and knows what Sark wants to get after. I think he's going to give him the insight. I think he's going to coach him up. I think the bigger question for me, because Ewers and Arch both have this really kind of Brett Favre without the interception, or maybe just a scrambling type pickup yardage when you don't need to. I'm nervous that we're going to actually get them into third down situations, and our third down defense is going to break down a la Alabama all over again, but not with the designed outside Milrow run, but with the, oh no, there's nothing open, our receivers can't break free, and I'm just going to scamper for 6 or 7 and extend it and march on Georgia's defense, which is not what has been the case so far. Georgia's defense has busted open, but it hasn't been sustained marches. I'm nervous that the running ability and the improvisation of Texas, they're going to be able to march. And if that's the case, those are gut punching blows, Daniel. When a team converts on third down, when you get them in 3rd and 4 and they can convert, when they get over to like 35, 38 yard line and Sark's going for it on 4th. So on 3rd, they only need to pick up 2 to make it 4th and 1. All of a sudden the defense gets demoralized. And if we let them do so, it's going to feel like, okay, Carson Beck, you have to be on every single play. You can't have a red zone interception that's forced into it. And that makes me nervous, because at home in Austin, when you can't make those kind of mistakes, it snowballs in a hurry. So I'm nervous that the improvisation of Ewers running the ball is going to extend drives. Not so much their running backs. I think we got linebackers to cover them. Not so much the DBs being blown assignments. I think Kirby's going to take care of that. But third down defense, letting them pick it up, makes me really nauseous. Even if we get a sack on first, even if Michael plays, for some reason, I just have this real gut feeling that we're going to see extended drives because of that. And that's nerve-wracking for me.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback off that extended drives in a moment. You'll be shocked to learn I have 3 different things that I'm nervous about.
Yep.
So
shocking.
I'm going to start on the offensive side of the ball. I don't know how to say it any simpler. Carson Beck makes me nervous this year. So I'm not nervous about something in particular happening. I'm just trying to tell you, Carson Beck makes me nervous, right? Like he's been very good.
Yeah.
He's also been not good in certain moments this year. And we need all good, I fear, in this game.
Yes.
Texas forced 6 turnovers this year in 6 games, forced a turnover in every game. Georgia can't turn the ball over in this game.
Nope.
Carson Beck can't turn the ball over in this game. And so Carson Beck makes me nervous. Let's move over to the defensive side of the ball. I'm nervous about 2 things. Now, obviously, I think the way that Texas scores in this game is through shots. We've talked about this, right? Like, so
yep.
It would be disingenuous for me to say I'm nervous that Texas is going to beat us over the top with shot plays. I'm not nervous about that. I expect it to happen. Like, that's going to happen a few different times in this game. I hope fewer than Georgia has, but who knows? I'm nervous that Texas is going to be able to run the football against this Georgia defensive front. Texas offensive line is very good. Quinn Ewers did not look like himself in the game against Oklahoma, maybe shaking off some rust coming out of the injury, but Quintravion Wisner, the running back for Texas, starting to come into his own, not just in the game against Oklahoma where he rushed for 118 yards, but in the Mississippi State game, he rushed for 88 yards in that game. He is the guy at running back. They are starting to develop an identity running the football. Steve Sarkisian really wants to run the football. Like, wherever he's been, he really wants to run the football. Kirby Smart knows that. We both anticipate Georgia's not going to change their defensive philosophy. They're still going to play man coverage on the outside. They're still going to try to stop the run and make you one-dimensional. But what if you can't stop the run and make them one-dimensional, Clint? There you get yourself into a bit of a pickle. So they
haven't played an offense like us. We haven't seen an offensive line like this.
No, we haven't seen an offense like this. There's no offense like this so far in college football. Like, this is the number one offense in all of college football. So, yeah, that's the first thing on defense that makes me nervous. The second thing on defense that makes me nervous is actually not the shot plays. It goes back to the offensive line. It's that our pass rush is not able to get home. And therefore, on third down, Quinn Ewers has all day to stand back there and not scramble around, but just wait for a wide receiver to break open for 7, 8, 10, 12 yards and a first down, another conversion. And all of a sudden, Texas is methodically moving the ball down the field because maybe we are able to stop the run, and we stop them on first and second down and get them to 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, or a situation like that. But you mentioned the left tackle on yesterday's show. If this pass rush isn't able to get home, if Michael Williams still isn't 100%, and there aren't enough dudes up front who are difference makers who can get home on the pass rush, then it doesn't matter how well the DBs play. Somebody's coming open. Somebody is breaking open. And if Texas is able to methodically, slowly but surely just move the ball down the field against this Georgia team, that is another recipe that would make me incredibly nervous in this game, because then Texas would be able to control the clock, score, but keep Carson Beck off the field, keep momentum on their side, wear out this Georgia defense, and then you get into one of those 3-point scenarios late in the game, and you say you like Kirby Smart's defense, but if they're gassed from being on the field all game, then all of a sudden that's a completely different situation.
He's not wrong. We're going to give what not to sleep on for this Georgia-Texas matchup. But first, these. FanDuel, FanDuel.com, the official sports book of Locked On Bulldogs, Locked On Podcast everywhere. You need to get over there right now. Every single line we gave out yesterday on the locks episode, the 4.5 for Georgia that Daniel and I both locked up. We both took Georgia plus 4.5 because we think this game is 3-point spread either way. Daniel predicts Georgia to win 21-24. I predict something like 35-38. I see it more of that way. But either way, the guys over at FanDuel will take care of the official sportsbook of Locked On Bulldogs. And right now, every single person that makes a $5 bet gets $200 in bonus bets. You put $5 down on that money line for Georgia to sprinkle on, or you want to go ahead and take those 4.5 points. You're going to get $200 in bonus bets right now. FanDuel.com. Make every moment more. Put in the promo code Locked On for that time. Locked On. FanDuel.com, the official sportsbook of Locked On Bulldogs everywhere. All right, Daniel. We talked about what we're excited about, what we're nervous about. All those things you said you're nervous about, I echo with that. I still think the most important 2 position players in this game is going to be a combination of Jalen Walker. I think whoever edge pressure, Chaz Chambliss, I don't anticipate seeing a lot in this game because I anticipate Texas being in passing to run the ball, and we typically put Chaz out there on first, second down. But I think we're going to see Jalen out there quite a bit to begin with. And the second most position, it's not a DB, it's not a cornerback, it's not anybody like that. It's actually, I think, the linebackers taking away the underneath coverage. Because to your point, they take their shots, but Quinn Ewers is a good read of the football field. He can take passing lanes. He's not just a one-hit wonder. I think if we disrupt those passing lanes with underneath coverage, he might try to force a ball back there. And that's when I do think the athleticism of our DBs can take over. The assignment football in the eyes can get them in trouble sometimes. But I think if everything in front of them is taken care of, they can go ahead and play back and they play more confidently. So I think linebackers and then a combination of the edge guys can be important. Okay, what shouldn't we sleep on in this game that maybe not every fan is talking about?
I'm not trying to be predictable, Clint, but I'm going to talk about Anthony Evans.
You should, Daniel.
But I'm gonna kick it up a notch. I'm gonna take it to the next level, right? This is don't sleep on. I don't think too many people are sleeping on Anthony Evans. Surely not people who've made it to Friday's episode, the everydayers who were here in the third segment, Clint. They know that Anthony Evans is going to lead this team in receiving yards in this game.
Correct. Okay.
But do they know that London Humphreys is going to be second on the team in receiving yards in this game? Now, you should never sleep on guys like Dylan Bell. Showed us last week, big-time playmaker down the field, obviously reliable target. You shouldn't sleep on guys like Lawson Lucky, who are mismatch and, create problems for the defense. Georgia's obviously got receivers. Arian Smith continues to be effective at times.
Sure.
But I think you're going to see a breakout game. I think you saw a breakout game last week from Anthony Evans. I think he only builds on that success. And I think this week is the breakout game for London Humphreys. I think you're going to see him a lot in the slot. Dom Lovett, again, nothing wrong with him as a football player. I just think for whatever reason, this is the week that London Humphreys gets a little bit more run. And you're going to see those two young wide receivers really make an impact on this game.
Daniel, the more I think about this game, I'm going to try my best to not. I don't want to make comparison is such a horrible thing to do, and yet it's oftentimes what the only thing we have is to compare two things. So I'm going to describe a situation.
Okay.
And you tell me if I'm describing this Texas game or if I'm describing another game in which Georgia has already played.
Okay.
Two top 10 teams.
Okay.
Facing a quarterback that is a Heisman contender in a high-powered offense with an experienced signal caller.
Okay.
A running game that is formidable. As you described, coming on as of late, that is still a run-first team. They want to establish the run. And a defense that is stout up the middle and can stop the run at all costs. Now, I'm going to continue doing this. The top two running backs for Georgia in this game, Etienne and Frazier. When was the last time that the top two running backs for Georgia were Etienne and Frazier? We played a defense that were stout up the middle and had a signal caller that was Heisman candidate. It was the Clemson game, Daniel.
All right.
Everything I just said is factually correct. I'm not extrapolating. I'm not exaggerating more than I should. I just said basic things.
Sure.
Okay. Big time game. Big time Kirby comes out. Defense showed out in that game. They're the same defense, Daniel. Cade Copeland is the same quarterback. They're the same.
I want to believe that's true. I do. I want to believe it.
I know. I'm don't sleep on this, guys.
Okay.
I think this game is going to be a 3-point game. I'm on. This is a don't sleep on side. Okay.
Mhm.
Don't sleep on Georgia coming out here and holding Texas to 17 points. Don't sleep on them getting less than 17 points because Kirby knows the best and brightest minds, save for the LSU, that LSU game that Kirby thought he was so smart and had a spy against Edwards-Helaire the whole time. Who did he play at linebacker that hadn't played the entire year until that stupid
Yeah.
game? I
I
forget
don't
who it
wanna
was.
talk about it.
It was such a horrible. That was his one clunker of a game plan. I mean, literally in his coaching tenure, that was his one clunker, and he got absolutely ridden out of town on it. Outside of that, big game Kirby comes up and knows how to stop these. Don't sleep on Georgia's defense rising up and doing another Clemson-like performance against a high-caliber quarterback with a running game and an offensive line that's out and a defense that is really good up the middle. I'm not, but the likelihood of that being the case is far more than people are giving us credit for. I think people are giving Texas credit that 35 is the floor of their point. You even said it 21-24. I mean,
Yeah.
if you were to say it to most people, they'd say you're stupid. Texas is going to blow the doors off of Georgia. Well, come on, y'all. Like that.
Mississippi State scored 31. You're saying Texas is not better than Mississippi State? That's not how football works, guys.
Not how
That's
football
just
works.
not how football works. Learn how football works, and then let's talk. I said yesterday, I think a Georgia blowout is in the realm of possible outcomes of this game. And so I don't necessarily hate that as a don't sleep on. What you're basically describing, and Texas fans aren't going to want to hear this, but that would be the equivalent of Steve Sarkisian coming out with like a Josh Heupel type performance.
And
Because there's a dude that scores 14 to 17 points in big games. If there's ever been a dude that scores 14 to 17 points in big games with
Josh.
the most dominant offense in the history of offenses, it's Josh Heupel. Man, he's made a career on scoring 14 to 17 points.
Remember when we were told Nico was the new face of college football?
I almost feel bad for Nico.
He seems like a good kid. Truth be told,
I'm
in
sure
all
he
honesty,
probably is a good kid. Like he seems like a great kid. But Josh Heupel ain't it, yo. And I don't know if you have realized that yet, or like if you're gonna still be waiting for a while. But Whipple ain't the guy. It's gonna be a fun game, and I'll tell you what's gonna be even more fun, Clint, or a lot less fun.
Either way, you should watch it.
One way or the other, it's going to be a thing. The Overreaction Show on Saturday night. If you're here right now, you already know about it. But on Saturday night, when the game is over, stay up late with us because we'll be out here. We will be out here. We'll get the show posted as soon as we can. Usually, it's probably within an hour of the game going final. We try to have the show up. We will overreact to this game. We will make ridiculous, outlandish observations about,
we might even say fire
and draw
Bobo.
some conclusions.
Who knows?
Weirder things have happened before. He's Clint. I'm Daniel. This is the Locked On Bulldogs podcast, and we will see you guys on Saturday night.
See ya.